Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. This is the Roaming Prepper channel, and I'm your host, Pete. Thank you for joining me once again. And today, we're going to do our situation report. I did have, like I said, a lot of new folks started following me because of other places I've jumped into chats and whatnot. And so for those of you who are new, thank you. The situation report is done every Monday, almost every Monday, and it's a compilation of federal governments, open media, social media. It's basically a compilation of different sources. A lot of it is mainstream media, and it's released because of my work. There's certain things I can't talk about, but a lot of it is public sector, so it is stuff I can share with all of you. And because it comes in a condensed format, it really makes life a lot easier as far as going through it. So the format is as follows: goes by region of the world alphabetically, and then in each region by each country alphabetically. And it's not everything, it's just an overview of more interesting things. So I'm going to start with Africa like I normally do. South Sudan. South Sudan launches military court to enforce accountability and justice, according to Africa News. Landmark military court has officially begun proceedings in WAU, W-A-U, capital of Western Bahr el Ghazal, aimed to address serious misconduct by members of South Sudan's People's Defense Forces, so the military. The move is seen as a critical step in enforcing behavior and conduct. So that's a good thing that South Sudan has actually had reports of soldiers overstepping or being abusive, and they're now essentially a military court is going to be a court-martial, if you will. So that's a good thing. Accountability for anybody is never bad. Togo, moving on to that country. Togo soldiers break up protests against longtime leader. This according to Reuters. Soldiers in Togo used tear gas and batons on Thursday to disperse hundreds of protesters who blocked main roads in the capital to call for the resignation of longtime leader Faure Gnagbe, G-N-A-S, Gnagbe. I don't know if I'm saying that right, according to Reuters. So again, a lot of unrest in the developing and emerging nations. So yeah, if you're traveling or you're traveling through, especially if you work, energy, mining, any kind of stuff like that, where you may have to go to these countries, you want to be cognizant of what's going on at your destination. Hell, even if you're flying from Calgary to Chicago or New York to LA, you want to know what's going on in your destination. Don't just show up and go straight to the hotel. At least be aware of what's going on. The worst thing in the world you can do during travel, which I've done, but it was a storm as opposed to a civil unrest, was show up, not realize that a storm was coming, and then the storm comes and floods, and you're trying to get to your hotel or out of your hotel, and you can't. And that causes problems. So you want to be sure you're squared away. So moving on, East Asia and Pacific, Australia and Indonesia. Indonesian police suspect 3 Australians of premeditated murder of a fellow national in Bali. Indonesian police investigating the fatal shooting of an Australian tourist at a villa on the resort island of Bali said Thursday that 2 Australians are suspected of arriving on a scooter and opening fire on another Australian. So that kind of sounds like a gang hit, doesn't it? Because, like, you went to another country to knock off somebody from your own country, and you came in on scooters, and it was 2 guys, so that means the shooter was on the back. So it sounds like a drive-by. Interesting. Okay, moving on, Japan. Japan hangs the Twitter killer in first execution since 2022. Japan executed a man on Friday who killed 9 people, wow, after contacting them on social media, the first use of capital punishment in the country in nearly 3 years. They hang you in Japan for capital murder. You don't get a shot and get put to sleep. No, they hang your ass, and you have all that departure experience up there. You know what? Maybe that's a good thing. That's why they don't have, a bunch of people murdering each other, because, oh, you're a serial killer. We're just going to hang you and let all the people stare at you while you die. I did not know they did that. That was new to me. For the record, I often don't read these before I walk through them with you guys. I record it almost unseen sight 90% of the time. So I didn't know that. That's interesting. Okay, moving on. Europe. Greece. Wildfire erupts near Athens amid the heat wave. This is according to DW. Greece is experiencing its first heat wave of the summer. A large wildfire broke out in south of Athens, prompting evacuations as temperatures approach 40 Celsius, which is about 100-ish. What is it? 40 is 1.8. So almost 2, so 80 plus 32, 80, 90, 100. Oh yeah, it's 110. That's pretty freaking high. And I rounded that off in my head. It's not exact. Russia, Ukraine, moving on in Europe. Russia captures village in eastern Ukraine near a lithium deposit, Russian-backed officials said. This is according to Reuters. Russian troops have taken control of a village in eastern Ukraine, which is close to a lithium deposit after fierce resistance from Ukrainian forces, a Russian-backed official said on Thursday. Kind of makes you wonder, is this really a fight about NATO, or is this a fight about resources? At the end of the day, it's power, resources, money, or influence. It's one of them. You know, they can say, oh, it's for freedom. It's bullshit. It's not for freedom. It's for something else. And freedom is the carrot by which they taunt people. But anyway, that's me going down a completely different rabbit hole. Moving on. Oh, wrong country. Sorry, I just skipped something here. Okay, Middle East, North Africa, Iran. Tehran is coming back to life, but its residents are deeply shaken, according to BBC News. Tehran is slowly returning to life and resuming its old rhythms, at least on the surface. Its infamous traffic is starting to fill its soaring highways and pretty tree-lined side streets. People don't realize Tehran is actually a very pretty city. Unfortunately, the Persian people are being ruled by an Ayatollah who will, if a girl shows her hair, will get a beating in the street. Even if she has the hijab, if the hair comes out inappropriately, there are other people will come and correct it. And if she doesn't get the correction, the other women use sticks on them. It's like, I've seen videos of this stuff from my friends who are from that country who fled. And it's kind of, it's mind-blowing. And anyway, that's a shame. Iran is an amazing people and an amazing culture, but they're under this rule, which is awful. Anyway, moving on. Israel, Lebanon. Lebanon says 1 dead, 20 wounded in Israeli strikes in the south. This is according to Arab News. Lebanon's health ministry said a woman was killed and 20 other people were wounded in an Israeli strike Friday in the country's south, as Israel military says some raids targeted Hezbollah sites. Hezbollah is notorious for hiding among the civilian populace, so to root them out, unfortunately, other people get caught in the crossfire. It's sad, actually. South and Central Asia, India. 3 dead and a dozen missing as torrential rains caused flash flood in the north of India. 3 people died and at least a dozen are feared missing after being swept away in a flash flood triggered by torrential rains in the north, according to the Indian state of Himachal Pradesh. The local authorities said on Thursday. Then Pakistan, flash floods in Pakistan kill 8 after deluge sweeps away dozens. This is from AP News, pretty much the same story. So northwest Pakistan and northeast India are in the mountains, and if they get a bunch of rain there, everything goes downhill, as you can imagine. This would be like the North Carolina flooding, but times 5 because of the way the towns are built. And the roads are garbage to begin with in that part of the world. And it's just, and support and soldiers, they can send all the soldiers they want. It's going to take them a week to get through the mess, just to get to the people that need help. So it's pretty rough. That's unfortunate. But again, goes back to what I'm saying. If you're traveling, you go overseas or you go across the country, you go across the state, understand what the weather's like. I mean, Texas is the only place I've lived where it literally had snow falling in the panhandle. They had a heat wave in West Texas, just south of that snowfall, and then a hurricane was approaching the Gulf Coast. It's like literally Texas had like 4 of the 7 natural disasters all at once. And but it's important to know that, because if I'm leaving from West Texas to Southern Texas and go to the coast and I don't pay attention to a storm heading that way, I'm going to get myself in trouble. So good stuff to think about, folks. Western Hemisphere, Brazil's Supreme Court clears the way to hold social media companies liable for user content, according to AP News. Brazil's Supreme Court agreed on Thursday on details of a decision to hold social media companies liable for what their users post. So that's going to be interesting because that could set a standard. For instance, if I make threats or I cause someone else to self-harm or cause them to react and do a terroristic thing, could the company be held liable for giving me that wide a platform? That could also be a reaction to X because they can't censor it anymore. So we'll see how that goes. Basically, all it's going to do, the social media companies are going to leave the country. They're just going to be like, nah, I'll go somewhere else. Canada approves law to fast-track resource projects, faces indigenous opposition. This is from Reuters. Canada's Senate passed a bill to fast-track approval for natural resources and infrastructure projects on Thursday, despite opposition from indigenous environmental groups that have threatened to protest and legal action. Wow, that seems complicated. Well, we'll see. Oh, and one more here. Crime in Chile costs $8 billion a year as violence chokes the economic growth. Chile loses about 2.6% of its GDP annually just to crime. It doesn't stipulate what crime. This is according to a new study, and Reuters reported this. Let's see, a year in, Haiti mission leader warns of shortfalls of troops, funds, and gear. This is according to Reuters. The commander of the UN-backed security mission in Haiti, mandated to fight powerful armed gangs in the nation, on Thursday called for more countries to lend their support as he marked 1 year since the first troops were deployed. They're not making a lot of headway. The infrastructure is pretty much gone. Central rule is gone. These troops are basically, all they can do is create safe zones for the civilians. Mexican regulator takes over running of banks hit by U.S. fentanyl sanctions. Oh, hey. Reuters, Mexico's banking regulator said on Thursday will temporarily step in to manage three financial institutions, Cibanco, Intercambanco, and Vector Casa de Bolsa, sanctioned by the U.S. government for alleged involvement of money laundering linked to organized crime and involved in fentanyl trafficking. So super interesting there. This is how you hurt criminal organizations. Yeah, you can send the Black Hawk and the operators, but you can also make their bank accounts go away. Looking through other analyses, let's see, Africa, Mongolia, Middle East. No, there's a lot of security conventions, corporate conventions. They do mention El Salvador has a new foreign agents law. El Salvador passed a foreign agents law that imposes various requirements on foreign entities operating in El Salvador that receive funding from outside the country. If you fail to comply, you get repercussions. Not a bad idea. We should do more of that in America and Canada for sure. Jamaica crime rates continue to decline. That's good news. A report examines Jamaica's success in combating violent crime. They got private security companies and help from bigger countries, and they changed the laws to where they can really ding the instigators behind crime so they don't pull more young people in, because that's usually how they do it. You get underage people to do the crime, and they get tried as kids, not as adults, at least half the time. So interesting. Panama's potential future unrest. Panama has experienced repeated instances of unrest since March due to a variety of domestic and international issues. The protests have led to disruptions for the private sector and the overall movement of travelers. Panama is super important. There are rumors that some of this may be funded by our friends across the Pacific who are very salty that we went down there and made deals with Panama and their lovely little canal. And so they may be funding leftist groups to disrupt the country. We shall see. And folks, that is it. Oh, and there is a demonstration alert in Kenya for those of you who are going on a safari or to a big game hunt. I can't afford such things, so we will not do that. And ladies and gentlemen, I think that's it for this report. So a lot of this is other interesting news, but not relevant for us. Folks, one takeaway from these reports this week is to understand the weather and the patterns, the geography. Again, I'll go back to that geography of the area you are going to visit so that you don't get caught off guard. You don't want to show up, you know, shorts, flip-flops, and a t-shirt thinking you're going to spend a week on the beach and a typhoon shows up and you basically have everything in one duffel bag and you didn't bring anything to prep yourself. You didn't bring extra meds. You didn't bring an extra phone battery, stuff like that. So be mindful of this kind of stuff, folks. You know, ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. That truer words could never have been spoken to the preparedness community. And again, this is not prepping for the alien invasion or the zombie apocalypse. This is prepping for real life things that happen to real life people. So anyway, I'm going to leave you with that one. For those of you who reached out this last week, thank you. Everything is good. But this last week and this coming week is final and term paper and then work in general in life. So I'm strung a little thin. So you may not see me as much, but I will be back on my kind of normal schedule in the next week or so. So anyway, you guys be good, be safe. I will see you all on the next video. You guys take care of yourselves.